Hey guys, castlehominid. Now, I was actually recording this in a previous video, but what I didn't realize was I muted myself, which was a great surprise. Editing the video, I realized I muted myself in the first 5 seconds, and then I just continued to do the video, and I was walking or talking, bruh, and now I just feel like an idiot. So, have a rave party. Anyway, guys, this is the ultimate setup video because on my channel it is screwed up. The ultimate setup video got pretty much destroyed because some things happened, like my recording crashed. But it's all up on my channel, so you can already tell. Yay, me. But yeah. Anyway, guys, this is the ultimate setup video. It's basically every video I've done in the past during my ultimate warrior, ultimate summoner, ultimate magic, and ultimate range builds, but it's just all together, and I even excluded a couple things. For instance, there are 2 melee weapons, 2 magic weapons, and 3 ranged weapons, even though they're all of a different class, or actually 4, because I had to switch those around. But you basically only need this top part here, this, that, not that, that, and that. Oh, and by the way, ignore all this. Is for a farm video that I actually promised in the last video, but you guys can't tell because I muted myself. You also need this stuff. Now, basically, the ultimate jack of all trades class that I was working on, I pretty much made it so that every class is going to have 2 distinct perks that make it amazing. Now, basically what those perks are, for instance, if I wanted to use the summoner, I would just, and I have all my summoner stuff on me, and then I would just, the papyrus scarab and the menacing necromancer scroll are all I needed for that. Right? Right. Great. Awesome. If I wanted my melee setup, all I needed to do was my fire gauntlet and my celestial stone. You'll always be replacing 2, so just to prevent confusion, I'm actually going to change this up a bit. I'm going to put you guys down here. Just so it's less confusing, you're only going to have to replace that. If I wanted to use my Shroomite armor, right? If I wanted to use my Shroomite armor, all I'd have to do is get the menacing emblem and the sniper scope, and then I have my melee setup. If I wanted to use my magic setup, now the magic setup is a little different because, because there's only actually one I use, which is the, of course you can already tell, the armored mana flower. Although you could, what's the word I'm looking for? You could change this up if you wanted to, if you really wanted to. If I just came over here, see if it's in this chest. Is it in this chest? It is not in this chest. That's great. Yeah. Well, that's something. Here it is. The Celestial Magnet, which basically makes it easier to pick up your mana stars, and you can just replace that. So that's your 2 for this side. And that's pretty much it. But now I want to talk about roles, as in what you should use the class for. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you have to use this for this, you have to use that for that, you have to use that for that. But the way I run my armor is I usually have the 2 most important or my favorite classes to use in my actual place here, so that it doesn't take me long if I actually need to fall back on them. So this is pretty much how I run my ultimate setup. I'll have these 2 in reserve in case I need them, in case I go AFK farming, which is what I use the summoner build for, or in case I just feel like having a laugh and just messing about, which is what I use my range setup for. And it's not that the range setup isn't good and that I can't use it in combat. I just prefer to not use it for my serious stuff, probably because the ammo I use is extremely expensive, especially the chlorophyte bullets that I use. And for the ammo I use, obviously, chlorophyte bullets, stinger bolts, and arrows. Any arrow is good for me, but I use normal arrows, and then I have incendiary arrows or flaming arrows to fall back on. Now, these are my two favorite. I use the summoner for AFK farming. For instance, if I go to my map and I go here, in this area here, I've actually been working on getting enough materials to fight Duke Fishron. Now, you also need a worm, a special worm. It's called the truffle worm. That's what you need to actually summon him, and then any fishing rod works. So that's what I used. But occasionally, these little guys will pop up and automatically start throwing little floaty flowers that do a lot of damage, like 60 damage, if I'm not mistaken. So I have my summoner build and my Sharknado staff, or the Tempest staff. I have the mythical prefix for it to basically defend myself. For instance, if I'm AFK farming here, I'll just use you, and it'll protect me, even though I don't really need to be protected. And I also have traps, but that's not important. What is important is I use that for AFK farming, and I said I use Shroomite armor for having a laugh, or if I'm just playing around, because I do enjoy using my range setup. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, especially since there are roles that you guys should be using them for. I just feel that I'm more efficient with my melee setup, which is going to be consisting of the beetle armor, so the beetle helmet, scale mail, and leggings. Now, I use this setup if I'm going to be boss farming, or if I'm just, as I said, messing about, because I mess about with all these classes, even if I don't use it for their specific roles. You don't have to. The next thing that I'm going to be showing you guys is the Specter Armor, which is basically what I use this armor for. Is if I get low while I'm fighting a boss, it happens. If you fight Duke Fishron, it'll be, it's confusing, because with Duke Fishron, the slightest mistake, if you mess up, you're dead, basically. Now, that's why I use this for. If I do mess up, I can quickly switch to my Specter Armor and basically mess everybody up and heal myself. Now, one thing that I have to stress about is the importance of changing your, I like to call them perks instead of accessories, because that's literally what you are, is you're getting perks. Okay? Now, I don't switch these up all the time, which kind of screws me over, because when I'm fighting a boss, I'll actually be fighting Duke Fishron, and what'll happen is I'll get low, and I'll have to switch to my Specter Armor, but I forgot to change to my Arcane, to my Celestial Magnet, and my Mana Flower, and I'll run out of mana, and then I'll have to quickly switch, and occasionally it won't end in me living, which is not exactly useful. But, yeah, that's that, and I'm gonna just demonstrate that for you. Say I'm using my Beetle Scale Mail. It's actually pretty hard to get killed with this stuff on, just because of how much defense I have. How much defense do I have? 69, defense. But if I get low, and I'm like, oh god, I'm low, I'll just quickly switch all this stuff up, and I'll start using you, and I'll pretty much regain all my health. You can't be dumb about it, though. If you wait till you get to 100 health, or like 50, or even 5, because one of my friends goes down to 5, and that's what he was, and I always yell at him for it. It's like, why are you wasting all your health? And he's like, oh, it's because I have this. It's not perfect, okay? It really isn't, and it's basically to get back up to your normal health, your 500 health. But if I am using this to attack bosses, I'll switch to the Specter Mask, because this is essentially the attack roll. Basically means a lot more damage, and it does a lot more damage. But it will not restore your health, which is why I will always keep my hood with me. It'll always be in my inventory if I'm running the Specter Armor or my ultimate setup. I don't always use these, but when the off chance I do make sure I switch my perks or my accessories and my helmet or my hood to my mask. It's extremely important, but I also find that with the Shroomite armor, If I am going to be using the Stinger, I'll sometimes still be wearing the mask, so I'll be getting bullet damage. I'll be getting a boost to my bullet damage, but I won't be doing, in the hundreds with my Hasty Stinger. Now, another thing, prefixes. I'm not going to tell you what prefixes you should use. I can recommend it, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. What I use is the Godly Vampire Knives for my melee setup, the Godly Vampire Knives, my Legendary Death Sickle, which I absolutely love this weapon. Now, this I'm still trying to get Legendary on, and the Superior Flare on I like the most. At the end of the day, you could use Godly, you could use Demonic, you could use Deadly for all I care. It's not that important to me, but this is what I prefer to use. For the magic settings, I have my Mythical. I will not rest because I mainly actually used to use only magic build, which is why I have my Mythical Razor Pine and my Mythical Tempest Staff, just because this is the best prefix that you could have for your magic items. But again, at the end of the day, it's your choice what you decide to use, not mine. Now for my ranged setup, I'll have the Demonic Mega Shark, just because I need that critical strike chance, especially if you're like not prepared. I know that the Unreal prefix is on this thing, but I'm not lucky enough to get it. I've literally wasted, 20 or 30 platinum coins trying to get to it, but hopefully you guys have more luck. I do recommend the Unreal prefix for all of these, even though I use the Deadly Tsunami because of the speed, which is +4 speed, plus 10 damage, which basically means that if I'm using my, again, like I said, you have to switch to your archer headgear and that stuff. If I'm using my Shroomite headgear, I'll use that, or I'll even use the Pulse Bow. Occasionally I do like to use the Pulse Bow, but in terms of power, I'll definitely be using the Tsunami. It has the highest rated damage for any bow. And if you get Unreal on the Tsunami, I'm sorry, you're set. But next, I use the Hasty Stinger just because I need that +9 speed and that +15 velocity. Because even with these two, let me switch you, and then of course you have to switch these. You don't have to, I recommend it again. But even with it, it does not go that fast, which means without that +15 velocity and +9 speed, you're still not going to be shooting fast. So any speed that you can get added onto the Stinger, it's a plus in my books. Again, speed is a really big deal when it comes to your explosive setups, for the one reason that explosives can be used. Okay, the explosives are weird in this game. Some rockets hurt you and destroy blocks, and then other rockets destroy blocks but don't hurt you, and other grenades and stuff harm you and not the ground, and there's all sorts of patterns in what they are. But I prefer the Stinger because if I use the Stinger on the ground, I'm not going to get hurt, and it doesn't destroy my land, which is good because I mainly use this weapon for farming invasions such as the Pirate Invasion, although I have converted to start using traps, which is what I recommend. And I also use the for the Pumpkin Moon and the Frost Moon, which are extremely hard because of the it's hard in the beginning rounds because the infantry, but later rounds you can use anything else, like for instance for the Morning Wood, and I forget what the Frost Moon equivalent is, I'll use the Tsunami because I pretty much want to kill that thing as fast as I possibly can, because if not, it's a world of hurt for you, and I'm just trying to make it easier for you. Anyway, guys, this has been the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the favorite button, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Like I said in the beginning, it might be a farm, and by might be, I mean it will be, because, yeah. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys in the next episode, and